In this series of videos, we're going to discuss spanning columns, we're going to talk about balancing columns horizontally, and then we're also going to talk about creating drop caps. Alrighty, so let's get started. Spanning columns. Alright, so let's say, for example, we have here this generic body of text. It is 3 columns, and as you can see, the very first paragraph says story title to go here. Alright, and basically what we want story title to go here to pretty much traverse all 3 columns. Alright, so how do we do that? Here's what you do. The first thing you want to do is let's just highlight that first paragraph or that line right there. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to type, drop down to paragraph. You're going to get this dialog box right here. Once you get here, you can notice that there's a little grid in the upper right hand corner. You click on that and you're going to see something down below that says span columns. Let's click on that. Once we click on that, you're going to get this dialog box, and basically it's going to ask you, what you want to split the columns, span the columns, or just keep it as single columns. Let's say span columns. So it spans all 3 columns, and then we'll just say OK. So if you notice, what it did was it took all this text that was underneath the paragraph that we selected and it shifted it all down. Well, why did it do that? It's simple, because now what we're going to do is, since we still have this paragraph or this line selected, instead of having it flush left, we're going to make it centered. And if you notice, now that you see it's centered, it's actually in the middle of this large body of text. Well, now we can do things like we can change the point size of it. So right now, if it's at 12 point, let's make it 36 point. All right. So as you can see, now it's at 36 point, and it's traversing all 3 columns. And in addition to just changing the font style and size, we can also add some spacing, because right now, as you can see, it's very, very close to the text. So maybe we need to push this down a little bit. So as we have the paragraph selected, again, we're going to go up to type, drop down to paragraph, and we're going to say, let's give it 2 picas extra. And if you notice, it dropped down everything to allow some space between the title and the rest of the story. So that's how you span type in. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to, it's what they call horizontal alignment of the column. And this is really, it's an optical thing. So let's say we're looking at these 3 columns of text. And again, if you are doing something, whether it's laying out a book or you're doing something for a publication, dealing with editorial copy, the balancing option, and it is optional, but it can work. So what we want to do is we're going to select the body of text, not the first line, because the first line, of course, is going to be that's our title. So we highlight the body of text. Again, we're going to go to type, drop down to where it says paragraphs, all right? And then again, the same place where that little grid is, you click on that, and you'll see what says balance ragged lines. All right, so when you click on that, what it's going to do is you can see it shifted some of the words around just to give it horizontal balance. All right, so it moves some of the words so that it just looks more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. All right, so that's basically, I'll do a Command Z so you can see what it was, and then we'll bring it back, and that's what it became. So that's how you balance text in columns horizontally. Lastly, let's talk about creating drop caps. All right, now creating a drop cap, and where you've seen this typically is the first letter of a story is much larger. It may take up 2 lines or 3 lines, but it starts off the story with this large letter, and that's called a drop cap. So the way we do this is you just put your cursor, you don't even have to select the entire paragraph, you just put your cursor anywhere in that first paragraph. Then what you do is you go up to type, drop down to paragraph, and then if you notice in that first column, you're going to see at the very bottom of that column, you'll see the letter A with the arrows pointing up and down. Well, basically what you're saying is you highlight that, and if you type in 2, you're saying I want that letter to take up 2 lines of text. So if you notice, when we click enter, all right, we see there are 2 lines of text that now that letter U is actually occupying the first and second line. And subsequently, if you highlight that and you make that 3, well, guess what? It's going to be 3 lines of text. But you don't have to stop there. It's not only just one drop cap. You can also have several letters that are dropping down. So if you notice right next to it, right to the right of it, you'll notice there's a number 1. Well, you see the A with the plus, and then a number 1, which means that only one letter is dropping down 3 lines. So we highlight that, and if we make that 2, right, we see now we have 2 letters that are dropping down 3 lines. That one word, us, is dropping down 2 lines. All right, 3 lines, because we've told InDesign we want 2 letters to go down 3 lines. So let's make that 1, because typically it's only a drop cap, not drop caps. Typically it's just one letter that drops down. But now let's go a little bit further. Let's say we wanted that U to be even a little bit bigger. It's going to drop. It's still going to take up 3 lines, but we want it to be even bigger than what it is right now. We want it to go above that 3-line limit. Well, that's not a problem. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to highlight that letter U. Make sure you highlight it. All right. Then you're going to go to Type. You're going to drop down to Character. And if you notice, it says 12 points. We know it's not 12 points, but it was made larger to accommodate those 3 lines. So watch what happens when we type in 14. Notice, you see it's getting bigger. So let's type in, say, 18. It's really getting big. So now we have this drop cap that's coming down 3 lines, but because we've changed the point size to 18, now it's even going above the actual body of text. So that's how you can work with, and experiment. Have fun with it. Experiment, and you can see exactly how you can control and create drop caps. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to add some bulleted text. All right, so as you can see, we have this generic placeholder text. It's 5 paragraphs. So we're going to convert these paragraphs into bulleted text, and then we're going to change the customary bullets, and we're going to customize them, and we're going to make them squares. So we highlight our 5 paragraphs, go up to Type, drop down to it says Bullets and Numbering, and we'll say Apply Bullets. And as you can see, we have our typical circular bullets, and we're going to do a couple of things with those. We're going to change them to square bullets. We're going to give those square bullets a color, and we're also going to take out the space between the bullet and the text. All right, so now what we're going to do is go up to Type, drop down to this oh so familiar dialog box, this paragraph, the upper right hand corner where the grid is, and drop all the way down to it says Bullets and Numbering. You select that. All right, so as you can see, what we have here is we have a couple of objects here, but mainly it's this bullet which is what is our customary bullet. So we want to add a new bullet. So we're going to say Add, and where it says Myriad Pro, which is the font that it's in, on the Mac side, we use Zaf Dingbats. On the PC side, I believe it's Wingdings. So if you're on the Mac, you can type in ZA. That'll bring you to Zaf Dingbats. You can say OK, or don't say OK. Don't say OK yet. Just hit the Tab key. It's the Tab key so that you can see your dingbats. And then we're going to use this square dingbat right here. So we're going to click on that, and then we're going to say Add it. All right, and we'll say OK. So now we have our square dingbat. And once we click on it, you're going to see that there it is. It converted the circular bullet to the square. All right, and the next thing is we're going to actually we're going to change the color. So what we're going to do is, and this is a little tricky, stay with me, we're going to create a style for it. So where it says character style, right now it says none. We're going to say new character, and let's give that a title. Let's just call it square bullets. Square bullets. All right, and then we'll say we're going to go down to character colors. All right, and for right now, let's just make that red. All right, no stroke, just a red fill, square bullets, and we'll say OK. So as you can see, what we did was we actually created these square red bullets. All right, and then let me show you how you can change the colors of those to whatever color you want after we've just created them. But next up, what we want to do is we want to take out that spacing between the bullet and the text. So if you notice right here, it says bullets or number position, you'll notice that you have a positive and a negative number. We'll talk about it in more detail in a future lesson, but right now, for this lesson, these two numbers need to be the same, but one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. So if we want to take out that space here, the first thing we're going to do is where it says first line indent, let's just delete the 6 and make it 1 pica. I hit the tab key and you can see it came off the margin and it came closer to the text. So now we want to move everything to the left, so we're going to delete that 6. So you can see now it moved it over back to the margin, but it did exactly what we needed to do, was it closed up that space between the bullet and the actual text. So we'll say OK. Now at this point, if we want to change the colors of those bullets, we're going to go over to character and you're going to see we have our square bullets. All right, so don't select it like I just did. Just click off so nothing is selected. All right, now nothing is selected. You can double click on square bullets, and then what you can do is you can go where it says character color and maybe change it to any color you want. All right, and that's how you can pretty much convert the circular bullets to anything you want. In our case, we created a square, and then you can assign the colors.